In 1324, a man left his kingdom in West Africa and walked toward Mecca. He did not walk alone. He walked with 60,000 people. 12,000 of them were personal servants. Each servant carried 4 pounds of solid gold. 500 others walked ahead of him, carrying golden staffs. He himself rode a horse preceded by 500 more servants. 80 camels walked with him, each carrying 300 pounds of gold dust. This was not a military campaign. This was a pilgrimage. His name was Mansa Musa, emperor of the Mali Empire. And by the time his pilgrimage was over, he had accidentally caused an economic catastrophe across North Africa and the Middle East that took 12 years to recover from. The Mali Empire in the early 14th century was the largest empire in West Africa, and one of the largest in the world. It stretched across an area roughly equal to Western Europe, from the Atlantic coast to deep inside the Sahara and south toward the forest regions. At its heart sat the Niger River, one of the most productive trade corridors on the planet, carrying gold and salt in quantities that made Mali the engine of medieval African commerce. Mansa Musa came to the throne around 1312. The exact circumstances are debated. His predecessor, Abu Bakr II, had attempted to sail across the Atlantic Ocean to discover what lay on the other side, departing with 2,000 boats and never returning. Musa, who had been serving as deputy, simply became emperor. He was an extraordinary administrator. He expanded the empire. He standardized trade. He built mosques. He appointed governors. He transformed the city of Timbuktu into one of the greatest centers of Islamic learning in the world, eventually home to a university and a library holding hundreds of thousands of manuscripts. Timbuktu today is considered a historical footnote. In the 14th century, it was one of the most sophisticated cities on earth, but it was the pilgrimage that made Musa a legend. The journey from Mali to Mecca across the Sahara and through Egypt took months. When Musa's procession arrived in Cairo, the effect on the Egyptian economy was immediate and severe. Musa spent gold. He gave it away. He handed it to the poor, to local officials, to anyone who caught his eye. He purchased goods at whatever price was asked without negotiating. His servants and companions did the same. The sheer quantity of gold entering the Egyptian market in a matter of weeks was so enormous that it overwhelmed the existing supply. When gold floods a market that quickly, its value collapses. Merchants who had been receiving good prices for their goods suddenly found that gold was worth less than it had been the week before. Prices rose to compensate. What gold could buy became less and less. The inflation spread from Cairo through trading networks into the broader Saharan and Mediterranean markets. Egyptian merchants, scholars, and officials who documented the visit wrote that the damage to the Egyptian economy from Musa's generosity lasted more than a decade. Contemporary accounts describe the frustration of traders who watched the price of their goods distorted by the arrival of a man who was simply too wealthy to spend money carefully. Musa reportedly realized what he had done. On the return journey, he attempted to repair the damage by borrowing gold back from Egyptian merchants at high interest rates, deliberately reducing the amount of gold in circulation to help stabilize prices. It was, as far as historians can tell, one of the earliest recorded examples of an individual attempting to manage inflation through deliberate monetary withdrawal. It is unknown whether it worked. The documentation suggests the recovery took roughly 12 years regardless. When Musa returned to Mali, he brought with him an Andalusian architect and poet named Abu Ishaq al-Sahili, whom he had met in Mecca. Al-Sahili designed mosques and palace buildings across the empire in a style that blended North African and West African architectural traditions. Some of those buildings still stand in Mali today, made of mud brick and timber, requiring constant maintenance in the Sahelian climate, but present and recognized as UNESCO World Heritage Sites. Mansa Musa died around 1337. The exact date is disputed. The empire he built began fragmenting after his death, weakened by succession conflicts and external pressures, and the Mali Empire was eventually eclipsed by the Songhai Empire in the 15th century. His name appeared on European maps of Africa drawn in the 14th and 15th centuries. A Catalan map from 1375, the Catalan Atlas, shows a crowned African king seated on a throne in West Africa, holding a gold nugget, with an inscription identifying him as Mansa Musa, Lord of the Negroes of Guinea. European cartographers who had never been to West Africa knew his name, because his pilgrimage had entered the Mediterranean world's consciousness so completely that he had become the defining image of African wealth for a century afterward. Most people who know the name Dracula have never heard the name Mansa Musa. That should change. If this channel is where history finally sounds like it actually matters, subscribe. History did not happen to other people in other times. It is still happening. It never stopped. Like this video if the story earned it. Comment below which detail hit hardest. Next time on this channel, the man who accidentally started the First World War with a wrong turn, a broken engine, and a sandwich. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand is not the story most people think it is. That one is coming tomorrow.